Right, this is Landlope. Why do I say that? Because I've been doing for a few years or rather, and this, I hate to even say this because I don't really believe that I don't consider the internet social media. I don't use social media, like extremely rarely. I don't even know how Facebook Messenger works anymore. Used to use it years ago, or sometimes, very occasionally. There's been literally one important person that I corresponded with her on it for a while. I 10 years ago sat down 20 years ago for 5 or 6 years for reasons of protection, and this wasn't part of anything. I would take quite regularly little bits of film of me and my daughter, but they were never talking to camera. They were just of us doing things, and mainly of her. But they were kind of, and they were totally real. I mean, I took so many. I had to take them. I didn't have to, but I always felt, the bastards, the cruel idiots, basically murderers of the soul, because that's what happens if you, over a period, subject a child to such emotional anguish. Let's call them the Stockholm Syndrome family, which is exactly what happened. But for 10 years up to that moment, I took many, many, many films, and she would enjoy taking them as well. And I'm not the sort of person who really does that. I never really sat and would review them and go, ooh, ah. But so that was, I always felt necessary, just in case, because Britain, is the centre of the world, or I think America will be as bad or possibly worse, and maybe America started this first, but it's the centre of the world for false allegations. It's absolutely terrible. They don't do it in Europe anything like as much as they do it here. So for about 5, 7 or 8 years I would take these bits of film, and then for 3 or 4 years I just would keep a little record of sometimes of my life for my daughter if I dropped dead. Keep a record, but also I wasn't trying, because I was in the pure mode of, okay, now when you ain't got nothing to lose, you go all the way and try and explore what are the really useful lessons in life. Anyway, so for a few years I did that, and that stuff, although it's low resolution, because I had a really shitty little, it was actually okay, £100 digital camera, but I'm going to really enjoy. I've never had time to go back and look through all of those, and they're kind of essays, you could almost call them, quite a few of them, or little kind of 3-minute essays as I'm doing, or rather as things have happened. Now, that wasn't planned, but I'm going to enjoy that because I know I got some good stuff there. And then, so 9 years ago I really did slightly start to rev up. We used to take films for my partner of her singing to just purely naturalistic, just as a sort of showcase of her, but we never did production or anything. The most we ever did connected to production was, anyway, I'm not even going to waffle on about it. But then 5 or 6 years ago, it's like, such momentous things are happening in society. I'm going to keep a video record of myself and other people sometimes. Though I don't really like to point the camera at other people. Sometimes it's appropriate, sometimes not. Anyway, now, why have I even turned it on now? I can't remember. So I've got this other stream of about 5 terabytes of all sorts of useful bits and bobs I've filmed over the last 7 or 8 years, which I have to sit down and pick certain stuff out. And I'm still, but here's the thing, I don't actually believe in social media. And 7 or 8 years ago, as I was thinking about all of this, I wrote a list of what are the better words to use. freelance broadcasting, homemade broadcasting. And in the interim 6 or 7 years, thank God, loads of people. Okay, you can get these cameras are astonishing quality, and I didn't buy this. It's sort of well, I did it first. The company, who were they? 3 Mobile, basically defrauded me over quite a period of time. Despite a clear-cut contract, they refused to honour the contract. So after a few months, do you know what? You can bugger off with your contract. So I ended up with quite a, well, no, the top of the range. Can't even remember what it is. Samsung S40 or something like that. They certainly were top of the range a couple of years ago. And it takes superb film, and I don't have it on full high definition because I don't have enough storage space. So this is medium definition. I hope to God it's still recording. Local. Anyway, to keep to the point. Yeah, I got tons and tons of bits of video that I have to muck around with for my last sort of, but it's kind of ended. I've kind of been, oh yes, my big word, chronicling. But it's not just me, it's other situations, people. Now, you know, I don't want to go through the rigmarole of starting to get permissions or anything from other people. Sometimes it'll be appropriate for me to put things up. Sometimes I might have to be a bit more thoughtful. Sometimes I may even have to put them up somewhere else, just in case. Because every single thing I do with my digital is 100% ethical. That I am sure. I mean, I have plenty of recordings and even some films of people basically committing things that many other people would get them arrested for, make complaints, tell other people, etc. I never do that because I've never met anybody worth doing that to, really. There are a few things that I've had to mull over. Do I have a responsibility to society to have this matter dealt with by somebody in power? Even that is difficult. But I know I'm 100% ethical. Anyway, I have, between this film, about 3 weeks ago I think it was, I thought, right, okay, I've got this kind of mode, and I might even say to people, well, it's a kind of response to the kind of books that end up as Salt Path, which I haven't actually sat and read properly, but I've picked up enough about it. But that's not even true, because I've been in this mode before I even knew that, years before that book, I even knew that book existed. And I don't actually want any kind of recognition, or no, it's not about recognition. I wish I hadn't put that word in. I don't want any form of, it doesn't bother me. If nobody thinks my material's any good, I know it's good, and it works. And that actually, it does work, because I'm a pretty standard person, because I've kind of been, I've had this kind of Langlope magic gradually sprinkled on me. I know I'm a bit kind of, and I've got plenty of evidence. I've got hundreds of recordings, for example, speaking with Europeans going along here. I've got things without a doubt, because they tell me, hey, you're so interesting to converse with. I've never spoken with anybody like that. It's like really great that our conversation went along that path. I know I'm okay, and I know I've actually become kind of reasonably special at managing to have some great George Borrow-like conversations, or even George Orwell conversations in his Down and Out in Paris and London. I know. So I'm going to put some of them up. It's going to take ages, but there's the kind of various ethos things that have to be tagged on to make sense of it all, which I will get to. So I've got this whole ton of other stuff that I'm going to spend quite a lot of time on that. But for now, please come back to Landlope.